Do you think now that the Los Angeles Rams acquired Matthew Stafford that they are Super Bowl contenders?
I would 100% say that. I thought that they were sneaky Super Bowl contenders this year, the way they finished the season, the way that defensive unit was playing. They got the running game going, and Sean McVay is such a smart head coach. So now you take a guy in Jared Goff, who I've notably been not high on him all season long. He's not great under pressure. He doesn't throw the deep ball that well. And you replace him with Matthew Stafford, who there's definitely question marks, but talent wise, I don't think there's any competition, whether it's watching the tape or looking at the numbers. Every single metric would tell you Matthew Stafford is a better quarterback. He throws the deep ball much better. He handles pressure much better. And he's done it on a pretty bad franchise over the last decade in the Detroit Lions. So now you pair him up with that run game, with Sean McVay, with that defense. They're right at the top in the NFC. And I know the NFC is packed, so it's tough to say if they're the favorites coming out of the NFC next season and there's a whole offseason to go. Who knows what could happen? You saw Tom Brady go to Tampa Bay last offseason and it changed the total dynamic. But I would say right now, the Rams are right up there on a short list of favorites in the NFC.
So for me, the Rams went 9-7 last year. They had the first ranked defense in the NFL. Their defense is elite, no doubt. But Leonard Floyd is a free agent. I'm pretty sure Darius Williams is a free agent. So they got some key guys on the defensive side of the ball who will be free agents. The last time Matthew Stafford had a top 10 defense, the Lions went 11-5. And I think the argument that Stafford hasn't won anything is kind of overblown because before he got to the Lions didn't make the playoffs for 11 years. They haven't won a playoff game since 1992. So Matthew Stafford, at least in his time in Detroit, went to the playoffs 3 times. They lost, but I don't think it was all on him when they lost those games. And Jared Goff is a good quarterback. I think he's an okay quarterback, but like you mentioned, he doesn't throw the deep ball well. That's something that Matthew Stafford thrives in. And now with Stafford, it gives McVay the flexibility to call more vertical passing plays and to push the ball down the field. I think Stafford is still a top 10 talent at the quarterback position in the NFL. He threw for 26 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and 4,000 yards last year with basically no Kenny Golladay for the entire season. Now you're going to the Rams with Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee, Cam Akers, and Darrell Henderson, a run game, and good receivers. I think Matthew Stafford is going to make the most out of that situation. To answer the question, are they Super Bowl contenders? I'll say they're one of them. They're one of them because there's a lot of teams in the NFC that are going to be fighting for that spot. And football is very unpredictable. It's not like the NBA where we know it's going to be the Lakers, Nets, or the Clippers, or one of those teams. With football, it can be any team, right? What worries me about Stafford and this fit with the Rams is that they like to run the ball a lot and they predicate their offense a lot on the play action. And I think Stafford can do that, but his strength is being a gunslinging quarterback, not necessarily throwing short to intermediate passes. When he's been placed in such set offenses throughout his career, he has not been that good. When he was with Joe Lombardi, who has a power run heavy scheme and it has a quick passing scheme, Stafford wasn't that good. And I also think Stafford, even though he has all the tools, his decision-making is very questionable as well. He's kind of like a Phillip Rivers in a sense where he's going to do a lot of things to keep you in the game, but Stafford will also lose you the game, and he'll throw a late fourth quarter interception to cost you the game, and that's happened multiple times throughout his career. So as much as I love Stafford, those are real concerns, and I don't think the upgrade from Goff to Stafford is like Goff is here and Stafford is here. I think Goff is here and Stafford is here. I don't think it's a monumental upgrade and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, they are the team to beat. I think it's a big upgrade, and I think they become a better team, but I don't think they become favorites.
I think that's a fair analysis. One thing I said earlier on in the season about Sean McVay and Jared Goff was I wondered if Sean McVay wasn't handcuffed to this play action scheme because he didn't trust the talent and ability of Jared Goff. So I want to see when Matthew Stafford gets in the building Is Sean McVay going to open up that playbook more and build that offense around Stafford's ability, or are they going to stick to that play action, run game type scheme, run heavy offense? That'll be an interesting thing to see, but I would like to see him open up the playbook a little bit more. They have some great weapons, and now with Matthew Stafford, his arm talent. I want to see them open it up a little bit. Another thing you mentioned, just to hit on one of your points, the winning conversation. I feel like Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff are kind of inverses in that sense, in the winning game sense, because you look at Matthew Stafford, he was on some really terrible teams in Detroit with a terrible head coach in Matt Patricia the last few years. And I feel like you can't really blame him for a lot of the struggles in Detroit. On the other hand, you have Jared Goff. One of the biggest arguments in his favor was, well, look at 2 years ago, he led his team to the Super Bowl. But I would say to that, he didn't lead anything. They had one of the best defenses in the league. They had Todd Gurley, who at that time was, I think, head and shoulders the best running back in the league, and Sean McVay, who was still the shiny new thing, and people hadn't really solved his schemes yet. So at that point in time, that was not Jared Goff leading his team to a Super Bowl, though he played well. I'll give him that. And that was the best I feel like I've seen him play in his career was that season. But over time, you got to show improvement. And I don't think that Jared Goff has done that. So I think that bringing in Matthew Stafford, despite his record and all of that in Detroit, makes this offense better. And I can't wait to see him with McVay. And another thing, a lot of people are getting on the Rams about trading the picks. The Rams haven't selected in the first round since 2016. So they do a great job finding talent in the later rounds. So I'm not trying to undervalue what first round picks means. And I think it was great for the Lions to get those picks. And it's probably more than you would have expected for Matthew Stafford, but the Rams can find talent later in the draft, and they're going all in right now. They are selling out for a championship, and I think it was the right move for them.
I think the picks thing is a little bit overblown too, but I think it's overblown for a different reason. I don't think Stafford is worth 2 first-round picks, but I think getting rid of Jared Goff's contract is, and that's why they had to do it. For me, I'm a guy who I think Stafford is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL, and I believe in his talent, but there are some real question marks there, and I know Rams fans are on the fence about this move. Some fans love it. Some fans don't like it because they like Goff, and I think even though Goff has been shouldering most of the blame within the Rams' demise, you can say, even though they went 9-7 the last 2 seasons, and before that made the Super Bowl, it's been Sean McVay has had a hand in this as well. Sean McVay's play calling, he's gotten figured out to an extent. Last year, he got figured out. This year, he kind of stole some schemes from the Ravens and Greg Roman's offense, and it revitalized the Rams' offense a little bit, but then it dwindled down again. I think that Jared Goff is getting unfairly blamed for this, I guess, Rams' downfall, because I think Sean McVay has a part in this, and as great as a coach as Sean McVay is, he's an awesome offensive mind. I don't think he's the type of guy that's going to take Stafford from a top 15 quarterback to now being a top 5 or top 3 quarterback in the league. Because we know next season, regardless of how well Stafford plays, the best quarterbacks in the league are going to be Mahomes, Watson if he plays, Josh Allen is going to be there, and I know I'm missing Aaron Rodgers is going to be there. So there's going to be guys that are going to be over Stafford. I think Stafford can have a top 10 quarterback-like season, but there are some concerns with him. Even though Jared Goff was very inconsistent, Rams fans might get a little bit mad when Stafford throws some late game interceptions and that loses them the game because it's happened a lot. We'll see if that changes within Stafford's game, but at 32 or 33 years old, I mean, how much can you really change from the player that you once were?
I agree with a lot of your points, but I would say overall, if I was a Rams fan or my message to Rams fans, I would be happy with the deal. I think that they got better as a team. I think they gave themselves a better chance to compete for a Super Bowl, which that's what they have to do right now because their draft capital, even before this, wasn't great. Their cap space was really not good. They got off a bad contract in Jared Goff, which I didn't think they should have given him that extension just yet. So overall, I feel like it was the right move considering where they're at. And I'd be excited for this upcoming year. You said it. I don't think they're favorites at the moment. We got to see how the offseason plays out. And I still don't think they will be favorites come opening day next year. But they're definitely going to be in the mix. And they will be certainly a contender in the NFC.
Yeah, and I agree with that totally. Just to say one last thing. I think this marriage between Stafford and McVay will work out. I think they'll be one of the better teams in the league. I think they'll probably win the division. But we have to be careful about just anointing them favorites before they even play a snap together. I think there are some concerns there, and I hope that Matthew Stafford does succeed because I want him to go out like a champion because I think he's been very underappreciated throughout his career. But now he has a chance. He's going to be at a national stage in a big city in Los Angeles. He has a chance to kind of rewrite the narrative of his career from being a guy with stats that loses to being a guy that wins. So we'll see what happens. But all in all, I think the Rams went all in with this move because they have little to no cap space. They have no draft capital. So this was a move to go all in and to see if they can win next year. So we'll see if they do that.